Okay, here we go on chapter 8. We're doing laws of cosines and laws of sines. This is one of 3 different videos. So notes 8651, page 147. So the laws of sines and cosines, I'm going to try to zoom in a little bit so I can get this so you can see it a little better. Okay. So the laws of cosines are used to find sides and angles of different non-right triangles. Okay? And the definition of sine and cosine can be extended to obtuse angles as well, which you're going to see. So that when you have a triangle that's not right, this is when you would use the laws of the sines and cosines. Now, what do you need? You need to understand that the laws of sines can be used to find side lengths and angles for any triangle. And it's based on what you are given. Okay? And the question you have to ask yourself, what are you given and what do you have to find? So the law of sines says if you have a triangle, let me see if I can zoom in even more. If you have a triangle ABC with lengths A, B, and C, that's the small a, B, and C for the lengths of the sides. Representing the lengths of the sides opposite the angles with measures big A, big B, and big C. That's how I'm going to call it. Okay? Then the sine of big A divided by little a equals the sine of big B divided by little b equals the sine of C divided by little c. So the A, B, and C in the numerator are the angles. Okay? Where the little a, little b, and c are the sides opposite the angle. So here's angle A, opposite it is little a, the side. Here's B, opposite is little b, and here's C, opposite is little c. That's important for you to understand. You can use the law of sines to solve triangles, okay, if you know the measures of 2 angles and any side. So the law of sines uses at least 2 angles, angle, side, or angle, side, angle, in that order. Okay, so let's take a look at the first example. See if I can get this all in one. Okay, so example 1, we are given the measures of 2 angles and the non-included side. So use the law of sines to write a proportion. So you can see we have 2 angles, 97 degrees, 21 degrees, and we have the side at 16 degrees. What do we want to find? What is given? So that's given, that's given, that's given, and what we want to find is x. Okay, so understand x is across from 21, which is angle C. So you need to label this figure. This is A, B, and C. So little a goes across big A, little b goes across little b, and little c comes across big C. Okay, this is little c. So that's x. That's what you're trying to find. So you need to write a law of sine and the law of sine in a proportion. So we would say the sine of angle A over little a, because we know angle A and we know little a. So that's why you would write that. Equals the sine of C over little c. Why do we use that? Because we're finding x. So we use the sine of C, which is 21, over x. Okay? So we'd have sine of A over A equals the sine of C over C. We substitute angle A in, which is 97 degrees. We substitute little c, which is side opposite angle A, 16. The angle for this C is 21 degrees, and the side opposite angle 21 is x. So now we do the product of the means equals the product of the extremes, or you guys call it the cross product. And I like to put my x here. I did one that doesn't have the x first, but that's all right. You want to write x times the sine of 97. So put your x first, and then the sine of 97 equals, put the 16 first times the sine of 21. Because if you put the 16 over here, it looks like 21/16. Okay? So then you divide both sides by the sine of 97, and make sure when you do this that you have on your calculator, make sure on your calculator you have in degree mode. So you want to check your mode. Your mode is right here. This is the mode on the calculator. Check that and make sure you're in degree rather than radian measurement. You want to be degrees because you're dealing with degrees. So on this problem, you would go, and I like to use the alpha F1 function for setting up my fraction. So alpha F1, first option gives you your fraction. And now I'm going to set this fraction up. So I'm going to write 16 times the sine of 21. So 16 sine 21. As you know, sine, let me widen this a little bit. Sine is right here. Okay. 21 parentheses. You don't have to have the parentheses, but it's fine to do it. Divided by the sine of 97. So sine 97 in parentheses, enter, and you get 5.77, which rounds to 5.8. Oops, let me go in farther. 5.8. Make sense? Okay, that's how you do that one. Now, if I want to do these practice ones down here, I'm going to do both of them. So I'm going to set each one up. So let me go out just a little bit. Okay. So number 1A. So the first one, I have to label my sides. So opposite angle A is little a, opposite angle B is little b, and opposite angle C is little c. From there, what do you know? You know two angles in a side. So this is angle, side, and that's why you're using the law of sines. Okay? That's why you're going to use the law of sines up in your notes, because it's angle, side. So you would set up and you would find where x is. So x is, you're going to do sine of b over x, which I put it over here. Sine of b over b equals the sine of a over a. You don't know c, or little c, so you're not going to use sine of c over little c. So you'd say the sine of a over little a equals the sine of b over little b, and then you substitute in. A is 78, little a is 8, b, that angle is 60 over x. Okay, so now you have your proportion, you solve it. Cross product, x times the sine of 78 equals 8 times the sine of 60. Divide by the sine of 78, and notice that my division doesn't go past into the x. Bring the x down, and then you do this on the calculator, and you get 7.08 or 7.1 if you're rounding to 10th place value. So let me do that again on the calculator. Alpha F1, I like to set that up, and I would go 8 sine of 60 over sine of 78. Parentheses, you don't have to have the parentheses, but here's your answer. Okay, that's that one. Now I'm going to do example B. Now example B, understand when you're looking at example B, it says find x. Well, if you go opposite x, which is r, and I'm going to label this r, big R, little r, big S, little s. Now that's a little s. Q, little q. I did a cursive. I should have done a cursive s. So now what I want to use x, but I don't have angle r. How do I find angle r? Well, you know two angles add up to 91, these two, so 180 minus 91 will give you angle r, which is 89 degrees. Now I can say that the sine of, and I did 89 degrees, r, over little r, or x, equals the sine of 54 over 8, because I know 54 now and know 8. So you're looking at the opposite angle and the opposite side, okay, to set that up. Now that you got the proportion, you solve it. X times the sine of 54 equals 8 times the sine of 89. Divide by the sine of 54. I'm not going to do this on the calculator. You should be able to do that now. Is 9.88, and then rounds to 9.9. Okay. Next, what if I have angle, side, and angle? So this is when you have, using the law of sines, when you have angle, side, angle. What's that mean? It means you have two angles given and the included sides. That's the question. What are you given? You have two angles and the included side given. You're trying to find a third angle, or third side, sorry. So you set up with opposite h is little h, opposite j is little j. We don't have that, but we have k and 10. So what we want to set up then is, what is angle K? So we would subtract these two, 45 plus 73, subtract from 180 and get 62. So this angle right here is 62 degrees. And we're going to use that angle, and we're trying to find that side given that angle. Okay? So we'd say the sine of h, which is 45, over little h right here, is equal to the sine of k over little k. So this is little k right here if you want to add that in. All right? So we substitute in 45x, 62, and 10, and then you do the product. I like to have the x on this side because then you don't have to change it when you get down to the bottom. But either way, they divide by the sine of 62 here, and you get 10 times the sine of 45 divided by the sine of 62. X equals approximately 8. All right, so with that said, let's try these two problems down here. So I'm going to slide down. Hopefully I can get them all in. So the first thing I did is label big S, little s across. Big T, big W, little w. Okay, same thing here. Big R, little r. Big T, big S, little s. Label your sides of your triangles first. Next, you're trying to find x. So you're going to use sine of 31 over x. Well, you start there, but then you need t. So you got to go 31 plus 63 is 94. Subtract that from 180, get 86. So this angle here is 86 degrees. So you'd say the sine of 86 over 14. So these two equal. Product of the means equals product of the extremes. X sine of 86 equals 14 sine of 31 divided by the sine of 86. And this here, I'm not going to work it all out, is 7.22. If you need to work it out, go back to this first example. I show you how to do that. 7.22 rounds to 7.2, 10th place value. Okay? So if I want R here, measure of angle R, I don't know it. Okay? So I have to find it by adding 125 and 24 together, gets 149. Subtract that one from 180 and get 31. So 31 is this angle here, 31 degrees. Why do I need that? Because I'm trying to find X, and I don't know T here, little t. I don't know that, but I know little r, and I can find the other angle. So now I set it up in sine of 125 s over x. I always like to do the x part, equals the sine of 31 over 6.8. Product of the means is x times the sine of 31 equals the product of the extremes is 6.8. Always put that first, sine of 125 divided by the sine of 31, and you get 10.81 or 10.8. That's the first video. Coming up on the second and third one.